my daughter gave me a new house. She said, "Mom, you deserve a fresh start. No more worries." But just 3 weeks later, I realized I wasn't living in that house. I was trapped inside it. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say, because the person who set that trap was the very child I loved most in this world. My name is Helen. Today's story is about trust, about how blind love can blur the line between sacrifice and being used. And perhaps when you finish listening, you'll ask yourself, if one day the person you love the most betrays you, would you choose to forgive or to save yourself? This is Voices of Auntie Tae, where every tear and every painful choice carries a lesson. These family revenge stories aren't just about revenge. They're about the awakening of the heart. If you've ever loved someone so much that you lost yourself in the process, stay with me, because this story is for you. I used to think nothing was happier than seeing my daughter succeed. A good marriage, a wealthy husband, and a heart that still remembered her mother. When she called, her voice full of pride, "Mom, I bought you a house, near the sea, with flowers and morning sunshine. You won't have to worry about anything anymore." I cried out of joy, thinking that all the sacrifices I'd made were finally rewarded. I packed a few clothes, a photo of my late husband, a few old notebooks, and left the shabby house that had been my home for half a lifetime. I didn't know that was the day I walked straight into the sweetest trap of my life. The new house was beautiful. Bright wooden floors, white walls, a faint scent of lavender. On the kitchen table was a handwritten card. "Welcome home, Mom." Beneath it, a shiny bunch of silver keys. I held them with trembling hands, not knowing that someday those same keys would symbolize my loss of freedom. In the first few days, my daughter often came by. She smiled brightly, took pictures of me in the living room, showing them off to friends. "My mom finally has her own house." I looked at her with pride, but I didn't notice that when her eyes scanned the house, they didn't just reflect happiness. There was something else: calculation. Then, from small details, I began to sense that something was wrong. Letters arrived addressed to names I didn't know. The neighbors seemed cautious around me. The gate closed automatically every time I tried to step outside. I laughed it off, telling myself, she just wants me to be safe. And what might honest like that? But deep down, something inside me began to tremble. I didn't know I was only a few steps away from a truth that would shatter my world. If you've ever been hurt by someone you trusted completely, leave a comment saying, "I know that feeling." And remember to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tae, so you won't miss more family revenge stories that will make you cry and remind you of the true meaning of trust. I remember that first morning in the new house clearly. Soft sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating a framed family photo my daughter had placed neatly on the coffee table. In the picture, she smiled radiantly, holding her husband, a man with a polite smile and strangely cold eyes. I told myself, he's probably just serious, nothing more. I brewed a pot of mint tea, letting the scent fill the brand new living room. Talking to myself, as if my late husband were still sitting beside me, I said, "See, dear, our daughter did so well. She bought her mom a house. You must be proud of her, wherever you are." That day, I truly believed I was the luckiest mother alive. Anna, my daughter, visited almost every day. She brought flowers, food, sometimes her husband too. She always said, "Mom, don't do anything heavy, just enjoy life now. We'll take care of everything." I nodded, my heart full of gratitude. After so many years of scraping by, bending my back to raise her, I was finally living the life of no more worries, just like she'd promised. At night, I'd sit and embroider under the warm, golden light. Sometimes Anna would call just to ask. One afternoon, I wanted to visit the nearby market to buy some fresh fish, but when I tried to open the gate, it wouldn't budge. Inside was a small control panel, requiring a code. I fiddled with it, then called Anna. She laughed through the phone. "Oh, Mom, why didn't you tell me first? I set a code for safety. I'll come open it for you." Her voice was as sweet and gentle as ever. I nodded, suspecting nothing, though a strange feeling crossed my mind, as if I were a guest in my own house. One evening, while cleaning a cabinet, I found a thick envelope with a law firm's name printed on it. Curious, I opened it. Inside were documents with both my name and Anna's, filled with fine print I could barely read. Before I could look closer, Anna walked in. She quickly snatched the envelope from my hands, smiling, Mom, don't worry, just some paperwork for the house. I want everything to be perfect. Then, her tone shifted. Warm, caring. You don't need to read it, Mom. It's all boring legal stuff. Just relax and enjoy yourself. I smiled, convincing myself that my daughter was always right. I forgot that blind trust is the first step toward every tragedy. A week passed, and I began to notice strange things. No one knocked on the door, no mail deliveries. All my groceries were brought by a delivery man arranged by Anna. Whenever I asked about the neighbors, Anna would just say, "They're very busy, Mom. Don't try to socialize yet. Everyone here is wealthy. Just relax and enjoy yourself." I started to feel isolated. No laughter of children. No footsteps. Only the sound of the wind brushing through the garden and the soft click of a tiny camera in the corner every time I walked by. I asked Anna, "What's that, dear?" She replied gently, "Just a security camera, Mom, so I can know right away if anything happens." I nodded. But that night, I couldn't sleep. It felt like someone was watching me. I stepped out onto the balcony. The cold wind blew through my gray hair. The sky was full of stars. Looking at the brightly lit house, I suddenly felt strange. The house was beautiful, elegant, but lifeless. No warmth, no familiar footsteps, no smell of the cakes I used to bake for Anna when she was little. I whispered to myself, maybe I just missed the old house, that's all. But deep inside, something was awakening, a faint instinct whispering, "No, Helen, this isn't your home. This is a trap." If you've ever found yourself lost in the happiness someone else built for you, comment, "I understand." And don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tae, where family revenge stories like this remind us. Sometimes, excessive care hides a secret agenda. By the 10th day in the new house, I noticed something unsettling. No one ever walked past this street. No car sounds, no joggers, not even children playing. Only the wind and the dry rustle of leaves falling across the path. At first I thought, maybe it's a luxury area. They just enjoy peace and quiet. But the more I looked around, the stranger it seemed. Every other house had its doors tightly shut. No windows open. No faces looking out. Just a single eerie feeling, as if someone was watching me from behind those thick curtains. One morning, while I was sweeping the yard, a strange man walked by. He paused for a moment, looked at me, then nodded politely. I quickly smiled back, happy that someone finally spoke to me. But almost immediately, a black SUV pulled up in front of the gate. From it stepped Anna's husband. He smiled, but it wasn't warm. "Mom," he said softly, "that man hangs around here often. Don't talk to him. There are strange people in this area." Then he looked straight at the man, a cold, warning stare. The man quickly walked away. I stayed silent, but inside I began to feel afraid. That afternoon, I tried to open a cabinet to find some old notebooks I'd brought when I moved in, but it was locked. The lock wasn't one I recognized. It was an electronic keypad. I called Anna and asked, "Did you change my cabinet?" She just laughed. "Oh, Mom, I didn't want anyone breaking in. I changed it to be safer. Don't worry, I'll remember the code." I asked, "What if I need to open it?" Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "Just call me, Mom. Don't worry about anything." I tried to smile, but my heart felt heavy. I used to be the kind of mother who kept everything organized, independent, capable, always managing the family myself. And now, I couldn't even open my own closet. That night, I sat by the window, staring into the small garden. A tiny red light blinked from the corner wall. I thought it was a firefly, until I realized it was the infrared light of a camera. One camera, then another. I counted, at least 4 inside the house. I remembered what Anna had said. The cameras are to protect you. But if they were to protect me, why was one aimed directly at the living room chair, the very spot where I always sat? A chill ran down my spine. I walked over and tried to cover the lens with a cloth, but minutes later, the phone rang. I wrote in my journal, Day 28, I understand now. I wasn't the one gifted a house. I became part of the property. An object. The next day, I tried calling my old friend Meryl, using the new phone Anna had set up. The line said, "This number does not exist." I opened the contact list. Only 3 numbers. Anna, her husband, and one labeled emergency. I tried dialing emergency, and at that exact moment, the doorbell rang. Anna's husband walked in, smiling. "Did you call us, Mom? Is something wrong?" I stepped back, breath caught in my throat. That's when I realized. Even the emergency line led straight to them. That night, I wrote the final line before hiding my journal away. I don't know when I'll get out of here, but if anyone finds this notebook, know this. I once trusted. And because I trusted, I was betrayed. If this story touched you, tell me. Where in the world are you listening from? Comment your city or country, so I'll know how far this mother's story has traveled. And remember, you are not alone. Many people in the Voices of Auntie Tae family have trusted, been hurt, and then found themselves again through stories like these. Real family revenge stories about pain, awakening, and strength. Don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tae so you won't miss the next chapter, when this mother finally rises, no longer a victim, but the author of her own story. I used to think that when someone is betrayed, they would scream, break things, run away. But no. When the pain comes from the one you gave life to, you no longer have the strength to shout. You just go silent. So silent you can hear your own heart breaking. 3 days after discovering the truth, I still acted as if nothing happened. I smiled when Anna visited, nodded when she said, "I just want you to be happy." I knew. If I wanted to escape, I couldn't let them know I had woken up. I began observing everything, every sound, every detail in the house. I noticed that each morning, a stranger came to restock the fridge, but never entered my room. They came through the back door, scanned a card, and left within minutes. The entire house functioned like a system. It didn't need me. It only needed me to stay put, obedient, and silent. I wasn't afraid anymore. Once you've lost everything, you realize nothing is more terrifying than being treated like you don't exist. And that's when I began to plan. One morning, I called Anna and said, "I've been feeling unwell. My heart's been racing lately. I think I should see a doctor." Her voice paused, then softened. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll send a doctor to the house." "I do, Ray." "No need," I said quickly. "I'd rather see my old doctor. He knows my condition best." After a few seconds of silence, she replied quietly, "Then I'll send a car to take you." I smiled. That was all I needed. The gray car arrived right on time. The driver was an elderly man, maybe in his 60s, thin and kind-eyed. He asked, "Mrs. Helen, right? I'm here to take you to the hospital." I nodded, then whispered, "Could you take me to the post office first? I need to mail a letter." He looked at me in the mirror, hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I opened my bag and took out an envelope. Inside was a copy of the documents I had found and a small handwritten note. "If I disappear, please take this file to the police." I signed my name, sealed it, and wrote the address of my old friend, Meryl, the only person I still trusted. When the letter slid through the post slot, I felt a strange lightness, as if I could finally breathe again after days of suffocation. I didn't know if it would ever reach her, but at least I had begun to fight back. That afternoon, when Anna arrived, she found me making tea. "Where did you go, Mom?" she asked. "To the doctor, just like I said. I told you my doctor would come to you. I wanted to see someone familiar. I'm old now, strangers make me nervous." I looked at her and smiled. She went quiet, scanning the room, then spoke softly. "Mom, please don't make me worry. You know I only want what's best for you." "I know," I said calmly. "I just want to do a few small things on my own. I'm still capable, you know." She said nothing more, but her eyes were sharper, colder, suspicious. I began documenting everything in greater detail. The times they arrived, license plates, company names printed on delivery bags, the brand labels on the cameras. Then I found a line of text printed behind one camera. "Max Secure Property Systems, registered to Anna Grant." I knew then. I needed proof. And I also knew I was walking a thin line. One mistake, and they would discover everything. One afternoon, the driver from before came back, holding a small delivery bag. When I opened the door, he leaned closer and whispered, "I sent the letter. Someone signed for it." I froze, then nodded, whispering thanks as tears filled my eyes. For the first time, they weren't tears of despair, but of hope. In the days that followed, Anna called less often. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she felt safe, thinking I had gone back to being obedient. And I played the part of the gentle, fragile mother, but inside me, a small flame was burning quietly. I reread my journal. Every word, every ink stain blurred by tears. And I realized something. Everything Anna did came from fear. Fear of losing her husband, fear of losing her status, fear of being poor, fear of becoming like me. A woman who spent her life giving and never receiving. And that fear had turned her into someone willing to sacrifice others to protect herself. Every night I prayed, not for forgiveness, but for my daughter to find peace. I knew that sooner or later, the truth would surface. Because lies always crumble under the light. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived. No sender name. Inside was a small note, written in Meryl's handwriting. Helen, I read everything. I've contacted a friend in the police. Stay strong. I believe you. I held the note in my trembling hands, tears falling, not from fear, but from the knowledge that I was no longer alone. That night, I sat on the porch, looking out at the garden. The lavender Anna had planted was blooming again, its soft scent drifting in the wind. I whispered to myself, sometimes silence is the loudest scream, and a mother, no matter how fragile, becomes strongest when she's been pushed to the edge. The night breeze carried the fragrance through the window. I smiled faintly. My battle was no longer about reclaiming a house or money. It was about reclaiming my dignity as a mother. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to fight in silence like Helen, comment the name of your city or country below, so I'll know how far her story has traveled, because you are not alone. In the great family of Voices of Auntie Tae, everyone carries a scar, and every family revenge story is a reminder that we may be betrayed, but we are never broken. That morning, rain poured unexpectedly. The sky turned dark gray, thunder rumbling like it wanted to split the air apart. I sat by the window, hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea, and felt a strange sense rising inside me. Something was about to end, or begin. By noon, the familiar sound of an engine stopped outside. The black SUV, my son-in-law's car. The door opened, and Anna stepped out. She no longer looked composed or elegant. Her hair was messy, her blouse wrinkled, her face pale and tired. She rushed in, eyes red. "Mom," her voice shook. "The police, they came to my office. They asked about the property papers, about the bank accounts. Someone sent them your documents." I set my teacup down, my tone calm. "Yes, I sent them." She stepped back, her face frozen, as if seeing a ghost. "Mom, why?" "Because you needed to stop," sighed. She collapsed onto the chair, hands covering her face as tears poured out. "I didn't want to hurt you. I was so afraid of losing everything." My heart twisted painfully. Losing everything?